they had harmonious aspects as well. And all of these trines that are highlighted in blue are beautiful. They're wonderful. And I want you to see something. They have harmonious aspects to their luminaries, the sun and moon, but they also, despite the multiple challenging aspects to the sun and the moon, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron, they also have multiple positive aspects to these aspects. They also have sextiles, which are harmonious. And again, we're seeing those same planets, Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto. Those same planets that had these really difficult, challenging aspects in the face of conjunctions, oppositions, and squares are also sextiling, right? Like they are also having good harmonious relationships. They also have conjunctions, which I mentioned can be good or bad. So Moon conjunct Jupiter is good. That's someone emotionally bringing out, expanding someone's emotional feelings, right? And you see that here, Moon and Jupiter. Her Moon expanded his Jupiter. She brought emotional expansion into his home life. That's good. However, if it's couched with negative associations, you're now emotionally expanding someone's home life negatively. And that is Jupiter. That's the dark side of Jupiter, right? That's not good. Her Mars also conjuncted his Jupiter, right? That's good. That means you bring out someone's sexual drive and stamina and energy. It's sexy, right? That's like, ooh, you're a tomcat in the sack. I know it and I'm going to bring it out. But it's brought out in the fourth house, his fourth house, which means in the beginning, this might have felt really hot and sexual and sexy, but then that translated into like a lot of bickering and fighting at home, an expansion, a growth of fighting, the dark side of Jupiter, right? This is their composite chart at a glance. Composite charts are different from synastry charts in that a composite chart is the midpoint of two people's charts, and it's one whole chart. It's like the natal chart, right? But a composite really is the purpose of a relationship. And the themes and the strengths and weaknesses that a couple will experience during their relationship. And the longer a couple stays together, the more you will travel upon your composite wheel, right? They were together for quite some time, so they had a long time to really navigate their composite. And one thing I want you to see is that they have a stellium in their 12th house and in their 6th house. This is an acts of service axis, right? Remember I mentioned your 6th house is your house of everyday mundane things. And your 12th house is your spiritual house. It's your subconscious house, right? In a composite chart, it's not good to see planets in the 6th house. It's okay to see them in the 12th because it shows a spiritual karmic connection. In the 6th house, though, it shows that over time, a relationship that starts as a partnership of equals will then become one, and where there is a master-servant relationship, someone serving the other. And that is an unequal partnership that will eventually bring resentments to the couple, with one feeling, I do much more than you do. You don't do your share. And it turns ugly. And they have Sun, Chiron, Mercury, and Vertex in their 6th house. The purpose of their relationship started out as a partnership of equals, and over time became unequal and almost like one was in service of the other. They have Ceres, Moon, Mars in the 5th. I love seeing 5th house placements in composites because the 5th house is a fun house, and to have your emotional house in the fun house is good. That means that emotionally things started out fun and exciting. And with Mars there, really sexy and sexual. And with Ceres there, this feeling of unconditional love and possibility. But over time, that too can become problematic, right? They have Venus in the first house. The first house in a composite chart is how the public sees you. Venus in the first is an indicator of beauty. Right off the bat, no matter how great this relationship was and then how ugly it became, no one in the public ever questioned how good looking these two were together and individually. And that's Venus in the first. The public will see you as a beautiful couple. With Saturn in the eighth, Saturn brings delays. And in the eighth house, that's the house of taboos, it's the house of sex, but it's also the house of, in a composite chart, joint finances, taxes, inheritance, divisions of assets. Saturn in the eighth in their composite chart shows that disassociating themselves from themselves financially was going to take a long time. And we saw that because their divorce proceedings went on for years. In fact, I don't even know if they're still going on, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't be surprised if it still is, right? But they didn't divorce quickly, right? Like you saw, like Jeff Bezos filed for divorce. A couple months later, there was a settlement. He's moved on with his life, but it was quick. Saturn in the eighth in a composite chart shows that should divorce ever happen, it's going to take forever. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to get really dark and deep. So why do couples with challenging synastry and composites stay together? Well, they're a great example of a couple that did just stay together for a long time, even though there was a lot of challenging energy they had to navigate because of aspects to their moon, Saturn, and Jupiter. In their squares, in their oppositions, in their quincunx, in their sextiles, in their conjunctions, and in their trines, right? 6 aspects, good and bad. Their moon, their Saturn, and Jupiter were aspected. So they stayed together for a long time. They also had lots of aspects that create sexual tension. And you will see that in relationships where two people are not necessarily working out, if the sex is good or if the sex is happening, even if it's not good, they're going to stay together, because what happens is you fall into a cycle of fighting and then fucking, and then you fight and then you fuck some more, right? And it's almost like hate fucking towards the end. But it keeps you together because it gives this overall challenging energy and the leftovers of other challenging energy somewhere to go, and it gives you something to do. So as long as you have sexual tension aspects, you're going to see people stay together long past their relationship expiration dates. However, those people do tend to break up when there's a major transit that comes, and it's like a light that turns on. They're like, oh, I really don't want to be here. So normally it's like a Uranus transit, or like a transit to their moon, or a easygoing Saturn transit that trines something in that person's natal chart that just wakes them up and says, I've been here too long, I'm leaving. If you have a lot of Plutonian, Uranian, Neptunian, and I didn't put this in here, but like aspects to your Chiron, you're going to find yourself staying together in a relationship long past its expiration date. And these two had a lot of aspects to Pluto, a lot of aspects to Uranus, a lot of aspects to Neptune. Her Neptune on his ascendant is a powerful pull because it's a sensitive angle. And she just saw somebody with like rose-colored glasses, the possibility of something beautiful and great. And he may have been surrounded by red flags, but all she saw was this person surrounded in a field of red roses, because when you have Neptune touching an ascendant, those red flags turn to a bouquet of roses, and you don't see them for what they are for a long time. And here they are wearing their Neptunian glasses. So their synastry, like I mentioned, multiple aspects to their sun, moon, and Mars. They had multiple aspects to the glue that is Saturn, multiple aspects to Chiron, Neptune, and Uranus, which is binding. Jupiter expands, right? For good or bad, contacts to Jupiter will make something bigger, right? And Saturn, for good or bad, acts as a glue. Saturn contacts can keep a couple forever, even if they try to break up. They can't leave each other unless that Saturn is severed somehow through a transit, right? For good or bad, Saturn will keep you together. They had aspects to their ascendant and to their vertex, which is a fated third angle. And in their synastry itself, they had fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh house overlays. And those houses are very sensitive to relationships. And if there's a lot of activation in those houses, couples will stay together. I hope this was informative, friends, and I hope that it gave you a little bit of an insight into a relationship with a lot of challenging aspects, but also a relationship with a lot of good aspects. And I hope it piqued your curiosity to learn more about Jupiter and Saturn and the moon, because those are the three planets that really make a difference in relationship compatibility readings. Thanks so much, friends. Have a great day.